where the call for unconstitutional change of power in the country was condemned. Briefing State House correspondents shortly after the meeting, Governor of Kwara State, Abdulrahman Abdulrazak, said the council commended the president for policy decisions he's taken since assuming office. TVC News State House correspondent Femi Akonde has more.
The first Council of State meeting conveyed by President Bola Tinubu in the life of his administration. Also the first time former President Muhammadu Buhari will return to the council chambers of the presidential villa, where he once sat to preside over crucial matters of the country. But beyond the roll call of members that constitute the Council of States, critical matters that portray the state of the nation were discussed. The council condemned the violence that marred last week's nationwide protests. They also commended Nigerians for resisting the manipulations of some elements pushing for unconstitutional regime change.
After the NSA's briefing, generally he allayed everybody's fears and spoke on the tightness of the security around the country, and also reassured all and sundry that nobody will be allowed to truncate our hard-earned democracy.
Overall, President Bola Tinubu got thumbs up from the Council of State. His reforms and policies, though yet to fully manifest, are being implemented in the interests of Nigerians.
There was an executive session between members of the Nigerian Governors Forum and Mr. President. And frank and fruitful discussions were held between both parties. And I'm glad to say we're on the right track.
The coordinating minister of the economy reported an optimistic economic outlook, but pointed out President Bola Tinubu's dissatisfaction with the high inflation.
In broad terms, the economy is growing. The balance of payments, in particular, the trade balance and the current account balance, are in surplus. The exchange rate is stabilizing. And inflation, though high, uncomfortably high for the liking of Mr. President and his team, it is slowing and it is set to fall.
The governors later met privately with President Bola Tinubu on the sidelines of the Council of State meeting to discuss some undisclosed issues. The last time the Council of State meeting was held was in February last year, in the build-up to the general election. The unanimous vote of confidence passed on President Bola Tinubu by the Council of States and the Nigeria Governors Forum may be a much-needed encouragement as his administration continues to implement necessary economic reforms that the government says will improve the well-being of citizens. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Joining me for more on this is the convener, Integration Summit Group Nigeria, Dr. Chris Akio. Dr. Akio, what do you consider the significance of this vote of confidence passed on the Tinubu administration, and how much impact do you think it will have on its leadership?
All right, thank you very much. And I'm glad to join in this very pertinent national issue. What the National Council of State has done is what is expected of the National Council of State. They are state of elder statesmen, and they are supposed to be able to find suiting balm to a situation in a country. So I do not expect less. I don't expect them to go there and publicly say things are not working. So they've done what they need to do. But I believe that if they are going to be true to Nigerians, then they must have had a backdoor session with the president to bring to the fore the pains and the reality that the common citizen face. We have a president that is focused and bent with policies to make sure that Nigeria works. But I think what is missing in the gaps are that he has listed the corridor of power and the implementers of these things with more rogue politicians and corrupt people in the establishment more than people who are patriotic. So all the good intent of government in the last 1 year are siphoned in the pipelines as they progress. So then the backlash is what the common citizens are suffering and feeling. And that's why citizens are now beginning to think that there will be an uprising. The truth is, in a working democracy, people must express themselves. How they do it is another ballgame. In this case, it's been a protest, and to the best of my knowledge, it's a protest that the government also managed very well. Otherwise, it should have been something else. But the reality is that people are protesting because what the government is saying is different from what is on ground. And so I think that the National Council of States endorsement will not change how citizens feel, but they have done what they should do as elder statesmen. The reality is that Mr. President must look inwards, filter through the people as appointed, whether politicians, ministries, or whether legislators is working with the National Assembly, whether civil servants, because this whole thing is a basket of corrupt people just lacing up the system with themselves and saying one thing and doing another. A classical example is just take example of simple thing as rice that they plan to share. So every week or every other month we hear 20,000 trucks or this number of trucks have been sent to this location. It's all out there and find out. Only very few states are actually implementing their policy. The rest of this goodwill or good intent of government is in the corridors of corrupt politicians and civil servants who are implementing that. Now, the problem here is that if the judiciary becomes corrupt, the police is corrupt, the military is corrupt, the politicians are corrupt, the establishment in terms of democracy, civil servants are corrupt, then the president is in deep shit because he's going to be dealing with people who are other.
I hear you, Dr.
Who will not implement.
Indeed. I'm just concerned that beyond the vote of confidence and the condemnation of unconstitutional change of power, how frank do you think conversation, within the Council of State should be, particularly when you consider the experiences of Nigeria in the face of the policies of this government?
Yeah, exactly my point, that the Council of State, I'm sure, would have done what they need to do, by talking to him in the public to say you're doing well, but I expect that they should do better. Back door to say, Mr. President, you need to change certain of these principal officers in these principal places who are not making things work. Why? The problem that the people are complaining about is hardship, it's hunger. The policies of government shows that it is willing to do something about it, but that something is not working. So I expect that the Council of State should be able to speak truth to power in the bedroom, such that the president will up his guard and then take the necessary bold step to take away friends and look at patriots in the system that will help him solve the Nigerian problem. We can do this as a country. We have the people, we have the resources, we have resilient citizens who are willing to go through something that will work. So I know that they are going to give a certain bomb to reassure him, but that's not the solution. The solution will be for this Council of State members to tell him that he needs to do things differently so he can get a better result. For those calling for military to take over, they are irresponsible in my own thought, because to the best of my knowledge, perhaps there are younger people who did not see military rule in this country, or who think that the Thomas Sankara thing is very important because they don't know history. Yeah. The worst democracy is better than the best military rule anywhere in the world.
All right.
Military rule by decrease. Democracy allows people to express themselves. So I think that's the more reason why things like civic education and history must be in our system, so people will understand what a democracy is and what military rule is. Call for military takeover at this time after 24 years
Dr. Keo
is nonetheless not expected at all from any Nigerian citizen.
That's our time. Convener, Integration Summit Group Nigeria, Dr. Chris Akeo. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much.